7 actors who exposed Tyler Perry's scary rise to fame. What if the most powerful black man in Hollywood didn't build a sanctuary but a gilded cage? While Tyler Perry commands a $330 million empire, a group of legendary icons from Denzel Washington to Monique are breaking their silence on the scary reality behind his studio gates. Is this a story of rags to riches or a calculated blueprint for cultural manipulation and professional eggs? Welcome to Black Excellence Legends, where we unmask the truth the industry is too afraid to tell. Stop scrolling. Subscribe now and hit the bell. Don't let the mainstream media dictate which legends deserve a voice. What do you think? Is Tyler Perry a hero or a gatekeeper? Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle occupies a singular space in the American cultural landscape. While many titans of entertainment measure their success through the accumulation of physical assets, like Tyler Perry's massive 330-acre studio lot, Chappelle has prioritized the preservation of his psychological and creative autonomy. His trajectory serves as the ultimate antithesis to the formulaic production model. Chappelle's most legendary act of resistance remains his 2005 departure from Chappelle's Show. At the absolute zenith of his popularity, he walked away from a staggering $50 million contract with Comedy Central. This wasn't merely a business disagreement, it was a moral emergency. He recognized that his sketches designed to satirize racial stereotypes were being misinterpreted by a segment of the audience that laughed at the caricature rather than the critique. To Chappelle, continuing would have meant becoming a tool for the very prejudice he sought to dismantle. This pivotal moment draws a sharp line between Chappelle and Tyler Perry. While Perry leaned into the Medea archetype, a character critics like Spike Lee and Cat Williams argue relies on exaggerated tropes for mass consumption, Chappelle chose exile over exploitation. He fled to South Africa seeking clarity away from the Hollywood machine that he famously described as a sick environment. This period of disappearance was not a breakdown, as the media suggested at the time, but a tactical retreat. He realized that in the entertainment industry, Black artists are often pressured to wear the dress, a metaphor Cat Williams later used to describe the emasculation of Black men in exchange for fame. Chappelle's refusal to participate in this ritual solidified his status as a martyr for artistic sovereignty. Years later, his return through massive Netflix specials proved a vital point. Integrity is a long-term investment. By the time he reached age 52 in 2026, Chappelle had secured his legacy not as a corporate puppet, but as a philosopher king of comedy. He challenged the gatekeeper system that Perry embraced. While Perry built a military-style fortress to produce content at a rapid-fire pace, Chappelle utilized the stage as a surgical instrument to dissect social politics. His critique of the industry often mirrors the grievances shared by Monique. He understands how the system blackballs or labels artists as crazy when they demand transparency or refuse to be undervalued. Ultimately, Chappelle's exposure of the industry's scary side lies in his transparency about the psychological cost of fame. He has publicly questioned the motivations of figures who align too closely with corporate interests at the expense of communal dignity. In his view, a studio built on the repetition of harmful stereotypes is not a sign of progress, but a gilded cage. By maintaining absolute control over his voice, Chappelle remains the conscience of an industry that often forgets the difference between being a boss and being a leader. Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson stands as a monumental figure in cinematic history, a performer whose career is defined by an almost supernatural level of prolificacy paired with a razor-sharp eye for cultural resonance. While Tyler Perry has built an empire based on high-speed internal production and a recurring cast of archetypes, Jackson has navigated the global stage by embedding himself into the works of visionary directors who prioritize narrative edge over commercial safety. With over 150 credits to his name, Jackson's absence from the Tyler Perry universe is one of Hollywood's most glaring omissions, a silence that speaks to a profound difference in artistic standards. For Jackson, the scary aspect of the industry isn't just the lack of opportunity, but the potential for a Black artist to be trapped in a cycle of mediocrity that fails to challenge the status quo. The core of Jackson's professional identity is rooted in the concept of the impactful character. From the scripture-quoting hitman Jules Winfield To the strategic mastermind Nick Fury, his roles are designed to shift the energy of a room. This stands in stark contrast to the formulaic storytelling found in Perry's sitcom-style cinema. Industry insiders suggest that Jackson's avoidance of Perry's projects is a calculated preservation of his brand. He has spent decades cultivating a reputation for cool, competent, and complex Black characters. Entering a world characterized by broad slapstick humor or melodramatic tropes often labeled by peers like Spike Lee as coonery would represent a dilution of the prestige Jackson has fought to maintain. He chooses roles that demand a certain caliber of writing, something often sacrificed in Perry's rapid-fire production schedule. Furthermore, Jackson represents the elite tier of Black Hollywood that values the long game. By 2026, at age 77, he remains a global box office powerhouse because he never allowed himself to be siloed into niche Black entertainment that doesn't translate to a broader, more critical audience. While Perry's rise was fueled by a direct-to-consumer model that bypassed traditional critics, Jackson's career was forged in the fire of critical acclaim and global distribution. He understands that the dark truth of the industry is that once an actor is pigeonholed into a specific lower-tier production style, the path back to high-budget prestige cinema is often severed. By staying away from the Atlanta-based studio system, Jackson maintains his status as a global citizen of film rather than a regional star. Ultimately, Samuel L. Jackson's career serves as a silent critique of the Tyler Perry empire. His choice to work with creators who push the boundaries of Black identity rather than those who profit from its most predictable versions highlights a fundamental divide in the industry. For Jackson's success isn't about owning the land the studio sits on. It's about owning the integrity of every frame in which he appears. His distance from Perry is not a matter of scheduling, but a matter of legacy. Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington represents the gold standard of dramatic integrity, occupying a rarefied air where every career move is scrutinized for its contribution to the canon of great cinema. In an industry that often incentivizes rapid output and high-volume commercialism, hallmarks of the Tyler Perry production machine, Washington has remained a staunch gatekeeper of his own prestige. By January 2026, at the age of 71, his legacy is not defined by the quantity of his roles, but by their transformative weight. His absolute absence from the Tyler Perry universe is perhaps the most significant silent exposure of Perry's rise to fame. It suggests that for the highest echelon of Black talent, owning a 330-acre studio is a secondary achievement to the pursuit of unimpeachable artistic quality. Washington's career serves as a living critique of the scary reality that financial dominance in Hollywood does not inherently equal cultural or professional respect. The divergence between Washington and Perry is rooted in the philosophy of the craft versus the content. Washington's method involves a deep, often spiritual immersion into characters that challenge the viewer's perception of morality and power, such as his Oscar-winning turn in Training Day or his portrayal of Malcolm X. Conversely, Perry's films often prioritize accessible archetypal storytelling that relies on familiar tropes to guarantee profit. For an actor of Washington's caliber, entering a Perry production would represent more than just a job. It would be a symbolic endorsement of a style that many critics argue dilutes the complexity of the Black experience. Washington understands that in Hollywood, your no is often more powerful than your yes. By consistently declining or simply ignoring the orbit of Perry's Atlanta empire, he maintains the prestige barrier that separates Hollywood royalty from corporate entertainers. Furthermore, Washington's career trajectory highlights the danger of the formula that Perry has perfected. While Perry has created a self-contained ecosystem where he is the writer, director, and producer, Washington has thrived by submitting himself to the visions of diverse world-class auteurs like Spike Lee, Ridley Scott, and Antoine Fuqua. This willingness to be challenged and directed by others is the antithesis of the centralized control Perry exerts over his projects. The dark truth exposed here is that Perry's insistence on total control often results in a visual and narrative sameness that artists like Washington find creatively stifling. For Denzel, the true military base isn't a physical studio lot. It is the rigorous mental discipline and the refusal to compromise one's standards for the sake of convenience or easy distribution. Ultimately, Denzel Washington's career is a testament to the fact that black excellence does not need to be loud or commercially aggressive to be world-altering. He has proven that one can achieve billionaire-adjacent status and global influence without ever leaning on stereotypes or wearing the dress. His distance from Tyler Perry is a calculated professional choice that reinforces a vital lesson for the next generation. You cannot build a lasting monument to art on a foundation of creative shortcuts. Washington remains the final boss of artistic standards, proving that true power is the ability to stay unbought and unbothered in a world obsessed with the bottom line. Tichina Arnold. Tichina Arnold represents the backbone of Black Hollywood, a seasoned, highly versatile performer who earned her stripes through decades of consistent, high-caliber work. From the sharp-tongued wit of Martin to the maternal complexity of Everybody Hates a Chris, Arnold has navigated the industry with a rare blend of comedic timing and dramatic depth. By January 2026, at age 56, her career stands as a testament to the power of discernment. While Tyler Perry's rise to fame offered a fast track to visibility for many black actors, Arnold's notable distance from his Atlanta-based empire exposes a scary truth about the industry: the choice between a steady paycheck and the preservation of one's artistic integrity. For a veteran of her stature, joining the Perry universe wasn't seen as an elevation, but as a potential regression into a production line that values speed over substance. The conflict between Arnold's professional ethos and Perry's methodology is rooted in the creative vacuum often found in high-speed filming environments. Perry is famous and criticized for filming entire seasons of television in mere days and completing feature films in a single week. For an actress like Arnold, who treats character development as a meticulous craft, this rapid-fire approach is anathema. Industry whispers suggest that while opportunities were present, Arnold declined to participate in projects that she felt were artistically limiting or formulaic. She recognized that Perry's storytelling often relies on archetypes: the strong black woman, the struggling mother, or the buffoonish elder, rather than the multidimensional complex human beings she spent 30 years bringing to life. By saying no to the Perry machine, Arnold exposed the frightening reality that many black actors feel pressured to accept substandard material just because it is the only black-owned option available. Furthermore, Arnold's career highlights a divide in how black excellence is cultivated and sustained. While Perry built a physical fortress, a studio lot to centralize his power, Arnold built a reputation fortress. She prioritized longevity over immediate ubiquity. She understood that in the scary landscape of Hollywood, an actor's greatest asset is their range. Entering the Perry ecosystem often comes with a branding tax. Actors frequently become synonymous with his specific aesthetic, making it harder for them to transition back into prestige dramas or major studio blockbusters. Arnold's refusal to pay this tax allowed her to remain a chameleon, moving seamlessly between network sitcoms and independent ventures without being pigeonholed as a Tyler Perry actor. Ultimately, Tichina Arnold's trajectory serves as a vital lesson in the importance of setting boundaries with power. Her career proves that you can be successful, respected, and highly employed without subscribing to a model that prioritizes commercial quantity over creative quality. By maintaining her distance, she has quietly challenged the narrative that Perry is the only game in town for black talent. Arnold remains a symbol of the artisan in an era of industrial content, reminding the industry that true black excellence cannot be mass-produced in a factory. It must be nurtured with time, respect, and a refusal to compromise the standards of the craft. Cat Williams. Cat Williams occupies a volatile and vital position in American entertainment, part comedic genius, part social arsonist. While Tyler Perry's rise is often framed as an inspirational triumph of black capitalism, Williams has spent years dismantling that narrative, exposing what he views as a scary and parasitic relationship between Perry's empire and black cultural dignity. By January 2026, at age 54, Williams has emerged as the most vocal critic of the Atlanta factory model. For him, Perry's success isn't a victory for the community, it is a strategic surrender. Williams' primary grievance lies in the recurring trope of the black man, in a dress, a motif he argues is not an artistic choice, but a requirement for those who wish to be allowed into the upper echelons of Hollywood's gate-kept corridors. The conflict between Williams and Perry is a clash of fundamental intent. In Williams' view, comedy should be a weapon of the oppressed used to speak truth to power, whereas he views Perry's brand as a tool used by the powerful to mock the oppressed. During his legendary 2024 interviews, Williams pulled back the curtain on the ritualistic nature of Perry's productions, suggesting that the industry elevates figures who are willing to emasculate their own image for mass consumption. This critique goes beyond simple jokes. It touches on the psychological safety of Black masculinity in the media. Williams argues that when a figure as powerful as Perry builds a military-grade studio based on the foundation of the Medea caricature, he is reinforcing harmful stereotypes for a non-Black audience to laugh at, rather than empowering the Black audience to see themselves reflected with depth. Furthermore, Williams exposes the scary reality of industry gatekeeping. He has frequently hinted that Perry's rise was facilitated by white power structures that preferred safe, stereotypical Black content over the radical, thought-provoking comedy that artists like Dave Chappelle or Williams himself provide. By owning the studio, the distribution, and the narrative, Perry creates a vacuum where Black actors must choose between participating in his formula or facing professional obscurity. Williams has positioned himself as the antithesis to this system, famously stating he would rather maintain his integrity than wear the dress for a paycheck. His defiance highlights a dark truth: Perry's empire can often act as a bottleneck, where the only way to get a seat at the table is to agree to leave your dignity at the door. Ultimately, Cat Williams' crusade against Tyler Perry is a battle for the soul of Black representation. He has risked his standing in the industry to point out that owning the plantation doesn't matter if you are still producing the same crops of caricatures that the old masters desired. At 54, Williams remains unbought and unbossed, serving as a reminder that true Black excellence requires more than just financial success. It requires the courage to say no to the profitable degradation of one's own culture. His voice remains a necessary, albeit uncomfortable, check on the unchecked expansion of the Perry Empire. Spike Lee. Spike Lee is more than a filmmaker. He is a cinematic architect who spent 4 decades constructing a dignified, complex, and unapologetic image of the Black experience. While Tyler Perry built a physical empire in Atlanta, Lee built an intellectual one in Brooklyn, defined by artistic rigor and social provocation. By January 2026, at age 68, Lee remains the most formidable philosophical rival to the Perry production model. Their conflict is not merely a personal spat between two directors. It is a fundamental war over the soul of Black cinema. Lee famously catalyzed this debate in 2009 by branding Perry's work as coonery buffoonery, a biting reference to the minstrel shows of the past where Black performers were forced to act out demeaning stereotypes for white entertainment. Lee's exposure of Perry's scary rise to fame centers on the concept of cultural regression. He argues that Perry's immense wealth and studio ownership are being used to resurrect the ghosts of Manton Moreland and Sleep and Eat performers from a segregated era whose survival depended on playing lazy or dim-witted caricatures. To Lee, Perry's Medea is a modern-day Trojan horse, a character wrapped in the guise of Black grandmotherly wisdom, but structured around the same slapstick tropes that historically justified the dehumanization of Black people. Lee's critique highlights the danger of a Black-owned studio becoming a factory for the same harmful imagery that white-dominated Hollywood used to suppress Black progress for a century. He views Perry's success as a step backward at a moment when Black artists finally have the leverage to demand multidimensional narratives. Furthermore, Lee exposes the divide between commercial appeasement and artistic responsibility. While Perry often defends his work by pointing to his massive box office numbers and loyal fan base, Lee contends that profitability does not grant an artist immunity from cultural accountability. Lee's filmography, including masterpieces like Do the Right Thing and Malcolm X, proves that Black cinema can be both commercially viable and intellectually demanding. He challenges the scary industry narrative that Black audiences only want safe, melodramatic, or lowbrow content. By maintaining a high standard for visual literacy, Lee exposes Perry's reliance on production shortcuts and lazy writing as a disservice to an audience that deserves better than a recycled formula. Ultimately, Spike Lee's stance against Tyler Perry is a defense of the image. He understands that in a globalized world, the way a community is portrayed on screen directly impacts how they are treated in reality. By refusing to stay silent, Lee has forced a conversation about the ethics of success. Is it enough for a black man to own the studio if the content produced inside those walls reinforces the very chains he claims to have broken? At 68, Lee remains the conscience of Black Hollywood, a sentinel who reminds us that true cinematic excellence requires the courage to challenge the audience, not just pander to them. Monique. Monique occupies a singular and poignant place in the history of Black Hollywood as the woman who won an Oscar and lost her career in the same breath. While the rise of Tyler Perry is often painted as an inclusive success story, Monique's experience exposes the scary underbelly of his empire, a system where loyalty to the boss is valued above fair labor practices. By January 2026, at age 58, Monique stands as the primary whistleblower of Perry's tactics, claiming that his path to fame was paved with the professional destruction of those who refused to be subservient. Her conflict with Perry began not over artistic taste, but over a fundamental right, the right to be compensated for work. The core of Monique's exposure centers on the blackballing of her reputation. After her legendary performance in Precious, she refused to participate in an unpaid international promotional tour, citing her contract and her commitment to her family. According to Monique, this act of professional boundaries was met with a calculated smear campaign. She alleges that Perry, alongside other industry gatekeepers, branded her as difficult, a label that acts as a death sentence for any actor, especially a black woman. The most terrifying revelation in this saga is the recorded phone conversation Monique claims to possess, where Perry allegedly admits to starting the rumor and confesses he could hear the pain he caused her. This exposes a chilling psychological dimension to Perry's rise, the ability to acknowledge the harm done while refusing to publicly rectify it. Furthermore, Monique's story highlights the financial warfare used to maintain control within the Perry ecosystem. She estimates that the difficult narrative cost her family tens of millions of dollars in lost opportunities over 12 years. This illustrates a dark truth about Perry's influence. He didn't just build a studio to create movies. He built a platform with the power to decide who gets to work in the industry at large. By refusing to bow to the brother and sister rhetoric that Perry often uses to bypass professional standards, Monique exposed the transactional and sometimes punitive nature of his business model. She challenged the idea that black artists should be grateful for opportunities to the point of accepting exploitation. Ultimately, Monique's 12-year exile and her subsequent fight for an apology represent a battle for the dignity of the black performer. She refused to let the monster of industry manipulation go unchallenged, even at the cost of her primary earning years. Her eventual return to the screen, despite the years of being sidelined, is a victory of resilience over erasure. At 58, she remains a cautionary tale and a beacon of courage, proving that while Tyler Perry may have the power to influence a career, he cannot break a spirit that refuses to trade its truth for a paycheck. Monique's exposure of the scary rise of Tyler Perry remains a vital document in the push for transparency and fairness in Hollywood. The rise of Tyler Perry is a polarizing saga that pits a $280 million studio empire against the soul of black artistry. From Monique's documented claims of professional sabotage to Spike Lee's critique of coonery, the consensus among these 7 legends is clear. Perry's formula may yield profit, but at what cost to cultural dignity? At Black Excellence Legends, we value the craft over the caricature. Is Perry a visionary pioneer providing vital opportunities, or is he a gatekeeper enforcing a regressive status quo? Was Tyler Perry's ascent a victory for Black Hollywood, or a scary blueprint for institutional control?